Back home to the political scene here, where House Speaker John Boehner has laid out his lawsuit against President Obama. It's going to focus on primarily the employer mandate delay with Obamacare and the other changes, some of them, that were made to that law without Congress having any say in the matter. So the Speaker claims that the president overstepped his executive powers by changing law that was passed by Congress and saying that he's just trying to protect the system that our founding fathers put in place. John Boehner is. Listen.
This is a battle between the two branches of government. Others can make a determination about whether it's impeachable or not. I believe that the path that we're going is the right one to defend our institution against the encroachment from the executive branch and to preserve the Constitution of our country as it was written and as it was intended.
Juan Williams is Fox News political analyst, and Mary Catherine Ham is editor-at-large for HotAir.com and a Fox News contributor. Juan, let me start with you. I mean, wouldn't Democrats, if the shoe was on the other foot, also want to protect the Constitution, and that when Congress passes a law, the law is supposed to be implemented as it was written, unless they decide to change it and that gets approved?
Yeah, I think that it's arguable that they would be. I think that you have a situation here where things are so partisan in Washington that people are, you know, kind of nitpicking any little thing here, but it's not a violation of the law. Clearly, this was in the law. It's a delay of the law, Martha, and there is some irony in the fact that Republicans have opposed the employer mandate, and now they're suing because Obama is enforcing the employer mandate. So it's kind of puzzling, but you're right. I mean, it just in these partisan times, everybody's shooting at everything that moves.
I think they also felt that it was discriminatory because they didn't delay it for individuals, and they delayed it for some companies and not others, I think is part of that argument.
Yeah, but that was at the request of business. That was the request of business,
many
and something
individuals
that
would have liked the
Republicans
same
supported.
kind of treatment. But, you know, in terms of this larger question, because there are a number of executive overreaches Republicans would claim, Mary Catherine, that they could have gone after, but Boehner is being very specific in terms of how he is bringing this suit.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't think it's a small thing. It is a large component of the law, and the law was built like the world's worst Jenga tower. So if you take parts out of it because they're not politically convenient, the thing as it was supposed to work, which I've put in air quotes, doesn't work. So it's a big deal that he just sort of ignored this, and it is a blatant sort of ignoring of the law. There's also irony in the fact that this is a law he likes, and I think the issue is we had sort of a gentleman's agreement known as the Constitution that the president would enforce the laws, and in ways big and small, the administration, the Obama administration, has decided people don't care about process, they're not going to notice that we're violating these promises, and we're not going to get in trouble for it, so they just say, well, the political winds are blowing this way, so I'm going to waive this. And so I think that is a real problem that we have to address. Now, the issue of how this is how you address it, some conservatives would say go full impeachment if you're going at all. I think Boehner says that would be politically going nuclear and wants to find a middle road here, and that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, he claims he's trying to protect the powers that Congress has vested in it by the Constitution, and that he feels that that's a pretty important principle. Here's the president's response when he was on the road in Texas.
You're going to sue me for doing my job? Okay. I mean, think about that. You're going to use taxpayer money to sue me for doing my job while you don't do your job.
There's a big laugh line out there on the campaign trail, some might say. It was part of a fundraising trip. Juan, how do you think about the president in terms of the way he's reacting and handling it?
I think he's handling it appropriately. I mean, you know, what he said is, look, you know, if anything, you know, if it was immigration, there was a choice that Boehner had to make. What is he going to go after? Because Republicans believe there are lots of examples of executive overreach here. He picked on this one in terms of the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act is working at the moment, so I mean, even Republicans who are asked, you know, is it working for you, say it's working for you. I think 76%. So that's pretty high, Martha. So what you've got here is now, I think, again, looking at ways to go after this president, to stir the Republican base in advance of the midterm elections. That's what this is about. Lawyers, Republican and Democrat, don't think this thing has much chance in the courts.
Well, I think it's a very open question as to whether or not it's working. A lot of people have seen their premiums rise, and we're going to get some new numbers in the fall that some people think are going to be pretty stunning. But, you know, in terms of the politics of it, we all remember, you know, what happened with the impeachment process with Bill Clinton. It didn't really go that well for Republicans when the election came around the next time. Is that what John Boehner, is that why he's making this decision to go this route rather than the impeachment route, Mary Catherine?
Yeah, I would argue, yes, that's exactly what's going on here. Is there's an attempt to find a middle ground where you can rebuke the president in some way without going there. There is a question as to whether the Congress can sort of establish legal standing, which is showing that, like, they've been harmed materially by the ignoring of this law. But there are two lawyers who are bringing a sort of novel approach to establishing this. And I do think it's an issue. If the Congress can't have standing, then the president can ignore the law. A president of either party can ignore the law over and over again, and that is a serious problem.
Yeah, I do think that, you know, that there's a couple ways I think people look at it. People either look at it and say, oh, it's ridiculous, nobody's getting anything done in Washington, and that's sort of a pox on both their houses. But there is also the underlying legitimate issue, Juan, and you say it wouldn't hold up in the court, and maybe it won't hold up in the court. But isn't it incumbent upon him as the Speaker of the House to protect the rights of Congress when he sees them breached? Isn't he responsible to reach out and try to see if the courts agree with him to protect that?
Well, this is a strange case here. You know, yesterday, Martha, Speaker Boehner said he wanted to make it very clear. He is not challenging the president's authority in terms of issuing executive orders. That's not on the table. And, of course, the White House says we've issued fewer executive orders than our predecessors. So that's not the issue.
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court already dealt with the executive order issue when it came to the NRLB recess appointments. So he may be feeling like that has been, you know, handled in that respect. And I think it's smart on his part to pick one thing, very specific, in this case, the employer mandate.
Yeah, but it's not the case that he is somehow changing the law. He is delaying implementing one aspect of the law. Anyway, I agree.
The law says he can't do that.
This could be no. The law doesn't say he can't do it. The law simply doesn't speak to the issue.
We will see.
It speaks to the date it's supposed to start, which is part of the law.
That's the question. You guys you can go into court right now, both of you, and take both sides on it. And
I think we're highly qualified for that as a legal expert.
Mary Catherine and Juan, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.